The online marketing landscape is changing. Our audiences are smarter. They are more jaded and they're more overwhelmed. And just because a strategy worked for you or worked for someone else 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even last year, doesn't mean that it works today. Not because you have to stay on top of all of the trends and the changes, but because your audience is smarter. They are catching on to the tricks, and tricks don't work anymore. So I want to tell you what launch strategies you can leave behind and what you should be doing in 2021 and 2022 and beyond to have ethical, high converting launches. Hi, I'm Brittany McBean, launch strategist and copywriter, and around here, I write launches all day, every day, which means I get to keep my finger on the pulse and really see what is working, what's not working, and what is shifting. So I'm going to give you a quick and dirty list of things that you've probably been told to do that are not serving your launches anymore. You'll probably notice a couple patterns as I go through these. Your audience, your readers, are smarter because the online industry is getting so big, because the courses and the memberships, because there's so many options. People are starting to go through a lot of funnels, even if they don't know that that's what they're experiencing. They're catching on to the tricks. And when they feel duped or when they feel like you aren't respecting their intelligence or their time, then they are less likely to trust you. And that whole know, like, trust factor is pretty important when it comes to people buying from you. So a part of having them trust you is marketing and launching in a way that is honest, that is fair, and that respects their intelligence. So the first thing that you might want to start rethinking: deadline funnels, right? That countdown timer that's at the top of your sales page. Now, yes, people do need to know when something ends in order to make a buying decision. This isn't about having something available forever if that's not the best way to serve your students. And this isn't about hiding the cart close. This is about how are we allowing our people to buy from a place of calm and confidence, not like adrenaline fueled stress. When people click on that page, especially if there's someone like me who is prone to anxiety and they see at the very top that timer counting down and those seconds going by every minute, that is going to raise their heart rate, increase their adrenaline, increase their stress, and bump up that cortisol level, which is going to make them want to shut off. That doesn't feel good. And if that does make them buy, if that does lead them to a purchasing decision, it is likely that they are not the right person for the program because they bought out of stress, not out of certainty that your offer is the right thing for them. So, do I think you need to completely eliminate countdown timers? No. I think you should for sure take the seconds off because that is super stressful. Maybe even the minutes, right? If somebody just needs to know when the last day is, when the last evening is that they can buy, when the cart closes, great. Give them that information. Give them that information in your emails. Let them know maybe in like a pop-up box or in a bar that like cart closes on this date, right? Just empower them to make the best decision for themselves, but you don't have to have that blinking timer in their face 24/7. Another one, value stacking. How many of you have been told to add on the bonuses, add in all the stuff, throw in everything in the kitchen sink, put that value next to it, and create that course, that membership, that program that is valued at $35,000, but for the low price of $39.97, you can get it today, right? That is no longer believable. People don't see that value stacked number and think, wow, I'm getting a deal. They think, I'm calling BS. I run user testings a lot on like websites that we're working on and sales pages, which means I get to just see what the average consumer is thinking as they are reading through a page and as they're looking at copy, and they are calling BS. They're saying, if it is really worth that much, how come you're selling it to me this much? Only put the value on something that you actually have for sale. Don't make up values. Don't say my time is worth $10,000, right? If you have a bonus in there that's also like a product that you sell or a mini course and you sell it for $4.97 and you want to say valued at, great. If you want to talk about a one-on-one consultation with me for an hour is this much money, but I'm giving you this much time, great. Talk about things that actually have legitimate price tags on them and don't go overboard because people are not going to believe that crazy high value for something that's being sold for a crazy low price. They don't feel like they're getting a deal. They feel like you are pulling their leg. going along with value stacking is price anchoring. We have been taught that by putting a couple of different prices around the offer and the button that we really want people to click, we can make that one price look more attractive, right? If there's a higher price and they get sticker shock, but then they actually see what it's worth, they're gonna feel like this is lower because they saw that higher price. Or maybe they're going to see something that's a little bit lower, but they get way less the value. It makes more sense to pay more, right? For like 50% times the value with only 10% more. I'm not going into the price anchoring strategies because I think that you can probably cut them out. If you have different tiers, different levels, different values, that is totally fine. But I really want to encourage you to price something and to sell something only if it is something that someone wants to buy and need. Don't put different prices and different values up there just to make one price look sexier. That is trickery. That is overriding someone's critical thinking, and it's kind of taking away their agency. Put on your sales page, put on your launch the thing that you think people need to buy. The fewer options, the better. If you want to include payment plans because it makes something more accessible, that is awesome. I am all for payment plans, but don't price anchor. Next up is the pain agitating. You may have heard, heck, I've even taught the copywriting formula PAS, pain agitation solution. And this formula takes the principle that you are stating the problem, then agitating that problem, and then introducing the solution. So in that formula, there is inherently a knife sticking and a knife twisting. And I am going to tell you that let's go ahead and cut out the knife twisting. I want you to call out the problem that they are experiencing that you solve with the goal of letting them know that you see them right where they are. Any agitating that you do should just be describing that pain, describing that problem in a slice of life moment so that the reader understands this person really gets me. They really see me. They really know what's going on with me. We are not trying to introduce the problem and then make them feel more and more and more and more like shit until they buy. That's not really a good selling solution. And honestly, it doesn't work nearly as well as someone feeling seen, heard, known, and understood. All right, going back to payment plans. I love a good payment plan. It makes something more accessible. And especially if you have a program that helps someone earn money, like if you are an online marketer, helping other marketers, which a lot of us are, then you are going to allow someone to start to get return on their investment while they are still paying it off, because they may not have that lump sum, but they may still need the content in your program. Payment plans are totally up to you. I love using them. I find them more successful. It definitely increases conversions, but it also increases student success and trust. I usually go with a full pay and a 3-pay, or a full pay and a 6-pay. See if you can limit it to 1 to 2 options and maybe introduce a payment plan on the last day as a cart close bonus. But what I would encourage you to stop doing is adding the pour tax. The pour tax is what we call that interest added on to a payment plan. Now, if you are, and this one is it's a little iffy, right? There's some gray area here, because if you are a business owner who is serving hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of students, where you are more likely, just due to the quantity of people you are serving, to have people default into collections. And then you are spending either your time or your team's time chasing after those defaulted payments, whether it's just updating a credit card, checking in with someone, finding out what's going on with them, and you are spending a lot of admin time, which means that is money out of your pocket just to follow up on these defaulted payments. Or if you have hired a third party, which that's a whole nother subject, but there are definitely times where having students on a payment plan who might possibly default on their payment, whether it is a change of credit card or a life circumstance that probably is not a fun or a good one for them. If you are having to spend time, you or your team, figuring out what's going on with those payments, resolving those solutions, then yes, it probably makes sense to cover that time. I would suggest to you, instead of adding on the pour tax, instead of adding on that interest, and we call it the pour tax because basically those of us who can't afford something feel like we are getting charged more for not having as many resources, right? Not a good feeling. I would suggest to you, instead of charging a pour tax, look at why students might be defaulting. Is it the price of the program? Is it not being able to get a minimum viable win to get their money back early on in the program? Is it the lack of student success? Are there other ways you can optimize what you are offering, what what you are selling and what you are teaching to help them get the wins that they need so that they are engaged, they stay in the program, they don't ghost you, they don't default on their payments, and if you are someone helping them generate revenue, that they are getting that early enough. Or maybe it's time to lower the price a little bit. Or maybe it's time to change the payment plan so that, yes, you don't have this super sexy 6-pay or 12-pay, but you know that the person coming in can pay either that pay in full or that 3-pay. So yes, you get to decide what aligns with the way you do business, the time that you and your team need to spend, and your values. But I would really encourage you to find some other opportunities to optimize your offer rather than adding on that interest and chasing down defaulted payments. The next one is my least favorite FAQ that I see listed on some sales pages. Often a copywriter or a course creator will have on their sales page in the bottom in the FAQ section the question, what if I can't afford this? That's a valid question. The answer is not, because the answer is typically, but you can't afford not to. Cut it out. That is disrespectful, it is dishonest, and it is manipulative. I'm assuming you probably aren't using that language, but just be really aware of what you are saying on your sales page, because for many people, afford is a very real circumstance. It is not a limiting belief. We have budgets, and some people have fewer resources and fewer access to resources than others. Your job is to help someone decide if they legitimately can afford something and when they legitimately cannot. So I want to encourage you in your launches to speak to that person who cannot afford your program yet and help them decide that this is not right for them, so that you don't have to go to bed at night knowing that someone just took out a credit card or went in debt or didn't meet their family's responsibilities because you said you can't afford not to. Because there are people who legitimately cannot afford not to. Help them figure out which one they are. All right, let's talk about scarcity for a minute. Yes, scarcity does increase conversions. Yes, sometimes scarcity is very real. If you have a limited number of seats inside your program, or you can only serve a limited number of students well, or if something is only offered for a limited amount of time, you need to let people know that so that they have the information that they need to make the decision that's best for them. You'll notice that all of these things are about giving the reader agency over their own decision. Okay, so let them know what the facts are, but do not create false or drummed up scarcity. If you have a program that is evergreen, do not send out emails saying the cart closes. Maybe there's an opportunity that they can't get after a certain amount of time. That's fine. Maybe the price goes up, but don't pretend like your evergreen funnel is a live launch when it is not. People are smart and they are going to find that out, and it just isn't honoring their agency. So don't create false scarcity. Another thing that I would encourage you to reconsider under the false scarcity is your bonuses. Yes, bonuses do help people buy. I encourage you to only add on the bonuses that truly add to the success or the speed or the ease of their transformation, right? But rather than having them disappear in order to have that scarcity to get people to buy when the cart opens or at the mid cart or the cart close, what if you had stacking bonuses? So bonuses that get added on to your launch or your funnel, but don't ever get taken off, so that by the end of the launch or the funnel, any student who buys gets all of the bonuses. Right? So you're adding additional reasons for people to buy. You're getting them more excited about these additional resources, but you're not necessarily taking some away. Obviously, there are going to be things that are more limited, like I do. Sometimes in my program, I'll do like a one-on-one fast action bonus. I can't leave that open to everyone. There is a limited spot. But for the bonuses that don't cost you anything to hand out more, what if you tried stacking them, not taking them away? Another one is the stealthy sneak attack. You've seen it when people start dropping those hints and kind of like seeding their offer where they're like, something big is coming, I'm launching something tomorrow, something's going to be available to you tomorrow, but they don't tell you what it is, they don't tell you what it's about, and they certainly don't tell you the price. Of course it is okay to build excitement. Of course it's okay to start seeding your offer early and often. In fact, I recommend that. But when you're hiding information just to pique curiosity, takes away your reader's agency. It doesn't allow them to start to decide early if this is something they want to be involved in and engaged with or not. When you let them know what is coming up, what you are going to be offering, what the transformation is, you don't have to give them everything, but letting them know just the very general principle of what you're offering and the price, then people start to relax and they feel like they can hang on and listen to what you're offering, right? So Maybe you're not giving out the whole information, the whole package before you launch, but don't do the sneak attack. Let people know what you've got going on so they can decide whether they want to engage or maybe this isn't right for them. Another thing I would encourage you to change is only using the sexiest, highest performing case studies and testimonials. You know what I mean? That one star student who had like ridiculous results is just the perfect student and they achieved like the top promised transformation, right? Sure, those are great. You should absolutely let people know what is possible. I absolutely encourage letting people know the range of what is possible. But when you only include those, it creates a little bit of mistrust. Again, in those user testings, one thing I consistently see is people going, did they pay this person? Is this person an actor? Is it their cousin? How do I know that this is a real testimonial? So you can actually increase your credibility, right? An incredible testimonial decreases credibility. You can increase your credibility by including more average results. What are those screenshots of somebody just saying, oh my God, I feel more confident, or holy crap, I just did this for the first time? What are those average results that you can also sprinkle in as social proof so that people see the range of what's possible, they trust you more, they see themselves in the average, and they can start to see the quickest viable win, right? Something else you can change up. A lot of launches either don't include or bury an opt-out. And so what I mean by that is with all of the launch content, the emails that you're sending out, like webinar invites, there typically isn't always front and center little link that basically says, if you want to stay on my email list, but you don't want to receive information about this offer over the next couple of weeks, click this button and you will opt out of this segment. You're not usually saying those words because those are more insider language, but you won't be getting any more emails about this, but you'll stay on my list. I would encourage you, rather than excluding or burying the opt-out, right? Like in the very bottom, like, oh, by the way, if you don't want to hear anymore, click this. Put it right up at the top, front and center. That's what we do with all of our emails. It is the first thing somebody sees when they open, because then that means that your unsubscribes go way down because more people stay on your list. It also means that anyone who has not clicked that opt-out has explicitly given you their permission and their consent for you to continue selling to them, which means they are a warmer lead and they're more likely to convert. So when you include that top, front, and center, you keep more people on your list, you keep the people who want to know your offer reading about your offer, or want to know about your offer reading about your offer, and you get people on your list who really appreciate the opportunity to not have their inbox slammed with something that isn't right for them, especially if you have like multiple segments or multiple audiences on your email list. So put that front and center right at the top of every single email you send out, and you're going to keep more people on your list, more engaged, and more grateful for the opportunity you just gave them to get the information that they want when they want it. And last but not least is the FOMO, the fear of missing out. We have been taught to sprinkle FOMO all through our launch and then throw it in there like a fire hose at the very end with all of the cart close emails. If you're going to miss out, you're going to miss out, you're going to miss out. Studies show that people who feel more pressured and more directed to take action are less likely to do so. Think about your teenager. I don't have a teenager. I have a 3-year-old, which is basically the same thing. When I was a teenager, if my parents said to do something, that was the last thing I was doing. When people have more agency over their own decisions, when they feel like they have autonomy and they have permission to make the decision that is best for them, and they are not pressured by someone who has some skin in the game, aka you making money off of them, then they are more likely to make a buying decision. But when they feel pressured, when they feel like you are telling them what to do, not allowing them to think through this decision, not giving them the time and the space that they need to make a calm, confident decision, then they clam up, shut down, and they do not buy. Right? It's that rebel teenager inside of us. And it's also those of us who get overwhelmed really easily, being like, you know what? I don't feel like I have time to think about this. I just need a minute to clear my brain and you're not giving me it. I'm not buying. So I want to encourage you, instead of going all in on the FOMO, go all in on the autonomy. How many times can you tell someone there's no pressure? It is your choice. If it's not this time, then it'll be next time. You get to make the decision that's best for you. You give them all the information, because if you say something like, maybe it's not right for you this time, maybe this is best for you in 6 months, then someone gets to think from a place of calm confidence. They get to think, you know what? I don't want to wait 6 months for this transformation. I actually do want it right now, right? They have the time and the space rather than, I don't know when this is opening again. Buy, right? That's not a good feeling. People do not buy from that place. And if they do, they're the ones that ask for refunds, default on payments, and don't participate in your program. So eliminate the FOMO, increase the agency and the autonomy, and step back and let them make the decision that is best for themselves. All right, that was not an exhaustive list. Of course, there are many things that we used to do in marketing that manipulated and tricked, and yes, caused people to buy, but not always the right person, and didn't necessarily increase student success or a lack of refund requests. Is there anything that you're not seeing work in your marketing anymore, or anything that when you read that marketing or that happens to you that you really dislike? What would you like to see going forward in the future with more ethical marketing, more honest and transparent marketing? Comment below, let me know. I'm really curious to see what you have onto the list. Don't forget to click that little thumbs up button to like, and subscribe so that you see when the next video drops, because we're going to keep giving you more of this what's working now in real time marketing, launching, copywriting strategy. All right, I'll see you in the next one.